Here you can see even nuclear advocates don't like the rain. Unless you're a polar bear. I am in Belgium, in Brussels, at a Stand Up for Nuclear event. They're protesting the closure of Belgium's last 2 nuclear plants, which are set to close in 2025, which would take around half of the country's power off the grid to be replaced by natural gas.
All right, so basically half of the power in Belgium comes from nuclear. That's almost impossible to replace, but the current government is trying. The current government just formed a number of months ago after 500 days of negotiations after the elections. It's an unstable collection of 7 parties that came together around the Green Party claiming they only wanted the energy ministry. Why did the Green Party want the energy ministry? They finally want to execute on an atom phase out, a nuclear phase out that's been in the works for literally this entire 21st century. So what that means is that they decided to get rid of the nuclear. Then every time it got close to getting rid of the nuclear, the current government was like, oh, we literally can't, or it would destroy our energy supply and spike our emissions. Well, now we're in 2021. The nuclear phase out is currently locked in law for 2025. Belgium is not anywhere near any change in condition that would make them not destroyed if they close their plants, but that doesn't mean the Green Party and their Green Energy Ministry is backing down.
If it's so self-evident that closing nuclear power in Belgium would decrease the grid reliability and spike emissions, why is this process going forward of closing the plants?
If you've grown up in a very rich country where energy is just there, you have no clue what it means not to have enough. So it hasn't been a priority, and it's been very difficult for the word to get out. There's one more problem. The owners of the nuclear plants that provide 50% of Belgium's electricity, they are a major natural gas company that is based in another country. So it's kind of at cross purposes. They kind of want to save the nuclear plants, but in the end, ENGIE, which means natural gas, of course, ENGIE, the owner of the nuclear plants, they're going to be okay even with a major energy crisis in Belgium. It just won't be that much skin off their back, and might even work out.
And how am I supposed to explain to climate deniers in Poland that we have to decarbonize when a wealthy country like Belgium is carbonizing? So that is making our work difficult. There is no just transition into low carbon economy without nuclear power.
What's going on in Belgium is horrible. It's a catastrophic climate policy to replace low carbon nuclear with gas. And it's not only a Belgian issue, it's a European issue because it will affect Polish energy prices too. So when the wealthy nations can just replace low carbon with gas, it's a colonial thinking that the other countries have to carry the burden, and it will make our decarbonization even harder. So we are pretty angry and frustrated, and this is why we're here.
Is it a stated goal right now to replace the lost nuclear with gas, or is it being aimed to replace with other things like wind or solar?
This is Daniel, also from Poland. So yes, it is stated the Belgian government got a permission from the Commission, the European Commission, to have subsidies for the new gas. So the new gas cannot be built without subsidies. Yeah.
We got really good at building nuclear power plants, and then we shut them down. So now the Belgians are trying to follow us, and I will want to come here to say, don't do it. Look at our energy grid, how fragile it is. It's not a good plan to follow. We should keep a nation's energy supply stable and not dependent on whether or not Putin sends us any gas.
What about the waste?
Every electricity source produces waste, but only nuclear energy produces so little waste that it fits in a Coke can for the entire energy that you need for your high energy life.
Okay, Spike, what does nuclear power mean to you? Does it mean pets?
So I'm in the UK, I'm from the UK, where we will be hosting COP26 this year. And it's going to be the biggest climate change conference to date. But as you might be aware, nuclear remains benched on the sidelines. It's not getting the recognition it deserved, despite the progress that we're making to get it as part of the conversations. Can be hard to communicate. People don't respond to numbers, but they do respond to things like this. They do respond to passionate people coming along to speak out their hearts and really believe in something and seeing what can be done. So that's why we need to meet people. We need to get on the streets and make sure that people listen to what we have to say, not just the numbers, but the emotions and where we're coming from as humans to other humans.
We come from Italy. I came all the way here from the city of Torino, which holds a grim record. My city is the most polluted city on this continent. I wish it was radioactive pollution, so at least someone would care and do something about it. I can only be sad to see that Germany and Belgium are locked on the same path that led my city to this situation by killing a vital source of clean energy and replacing it with polluting and climate-altering fossil fuels.
Why do you think nuclear advocates are so few and far between?
We were scared after the Fukushima accident. We were scared and we didn't dare to speak. And now that climate change is taking more and more space on media, we are finding the courage to speak up. Also, I believe that differently from other industries, the nuclear industry is very shy and it's not forthcoming. I have seen even fossil fuel companies advertising gas as a sort of climate helping solution, which is not, while nuclear companies are almost hidden in the corner, afraid of speak up.
The representatives of the nuclear industry are not here, or if they're here, they have not revealed themselves to us. So we're kind of on our own, and the most powerful folks who should be spreading this message in Belgium, they're either sitting on the sidelines or they don't know that there's a bunch of us who want to support their courage to come out and save these plants.
We want nuclear! We want nuclear! Thank you!
Congratulations on putting together this huge event. I'm sure it was obviously a collaborative effort.
It was, absolutely.
But you are the global organizer for Stand Up for Nuclear.
Yes.
How did this meet your expectations? What did it take to get this together?
You're right. So it's been over, I want to say, a year of planning. We knew we wanted to do something in Belgium. It's a critical time for them. If they lose their plants, it's 50% of their electricity, 80% of their zero carbon electricity. So as a millennial, right, climate change is the scariest thing. It's mind-boggling to think that they would do that. So we organized over this past year. We had 11 different countries show up for us, and it was a collaborative effort. But as a global organizer, it's my privilege that I just get to chat with everybody here. I get to call up the Poles and be like, we need your help. Hey, from Netherlands, take a train for me. Like, we'll meet you. We'll pay for your beers. And everybody is so ready for that. And I think here in the EU, especially with the taxonomy stuff, if nuclear is excluded and natural gas is, I don't know what times we're living in. And as young people, that's our future.
Yep. So I can't help but notice the similarities between Belgium and where I'm from, New Jersey. New Jersey, we get about half our power from nuclear, and it's about 90% of our clean energy. And I can't even fathom the Board of Public Utilities actually having a genuine discussion about just closing all that power to replace it with natural gas, which is imported.
It's a fossil fuel.
And it's a fossil fuel that emits carbon. Right. So, as an outsider, it seems equally hard to wrap my head around that this is happening in Belgium. Right. Why do you think it is, and how are you connecting with people that believe it's okay?
Right. So I think with going back, there's such an ingrained fear of nuclear misconception, and I think it's really apparent nowadays, especially those that are in power. They think that there's no public support for nuclear, but through all of my conversations, every time I'm chatting with somebody and I explain why I support nuclear, they're instantly convinced. So I think it's really anti-science, anti-nuclearism that's really embedded into the politicians currently right now, and I think there's a romantic idea that batteries will save us and renewables will. And I don't know who they're talking to. I don't know if they're talking to the people that actually run the grid.
Are the tides changing?
I think so. When I talked to Paul from Belgium, he's been doing this for 10 years, and he said the tides are changing. There's never been a support for nuclear like how it is now. And I think with the climate change and climate goals, people are like, the math isn't adding up, right? Like 52% of all of our carbon-free energy in the US, nuclear, baby. Nobody knows that. None of my friends knew that. So tides are changing.
European people in various countries favorable to nuclear are growing and growing by the day. French population has gained 12 points of public opinion in a year and a half. It's unheard of. It's crazy. Up to very recently, when you're asking a French person if they were pro-nuclear or anti-nuclear, the answer immediately would be, well, I don't know much about the subject, so I suppose I'm anti-nuclear. And so the position you would revert automatically, naturally, when you were a citizen, was to be anti-nuclear, because, of course, pro-nuclear was, the lobby, the power, the money, the hungry people, and you were not part of that. So suddenly, to have a visible, real part of the population, even if it's a small one, that claims itself to be pro-nuclear, and they're obviously citizens like you, forces you to make a stand, to take a stand. You cannot revert automatically to a position, because there's not an automatic position to fall in. And now there's two sides of citizens. There's the pro-nuclear and the anti-nuclear. So which one are you? So you have to stay neutral, or you have to take a side, and you have to argue for why you're taking that side. And I think that's a very important way to put a foot in the door of people's mind and say, keep it open.
Chris Keefer, I like the work you're doing. Keep at it and save Pickering.
Decouple is the greatest podcast there is. Listen every week.
The Decouple podcast is great because it has me on over and over, and then I don't have to do any writing.
Perfect.
I've been living here in Brussels for a few months, but I only knew of this event, this wonderful event, because I heard the Decouple podcast this morning, the Decouple episode talking about the Belgian phase-out. So, thanks, Chris.
I'm a really big fan of that podcast, Decouple. It's really great. It's brought up a lot of interesting subjects, and I've discovered a lot of fascinating people. And I really, really hope that turns out to be a well-known podcast that lasts a lifetime.
Dr. Chris Keefer, he's our love. I think he's the most charismatic, high-energy nuclear advocate that we have, and it's a pleasure knowing him. Hopefully I get to meet him in person.
Don't tell Mark.
Oh my God, don't tell Mark. I never said this.